Okay, everybody, we're gonna start this live stream in a little bit. I'm just gonna get everything set up over here. Everything that we need to talk about, that is. Jesus, hold up. Jeez. I was just trying to make sure, cause like, hell, it didn't look like I could go back on my stream when I did that. All right, y'all. Right now, we're going to be talking about the latest chapter in Rwby Volume 6. I know anybody who's watching this probably has no idea what I'm talking about, but this latest chapter was filled with so much lore, so much, just so many things that had to do with mythology, fairy tales, the gods, everything. Like, it just had so much to, there's just so much to unpack right now. Like, I literally have images queued up. I've thankfully been able to find a way to get images on here, how to overlay them and everything. And right now we're gonna get into this. I was gonna wait to see if I can get like more people in here, but I honestly don't have time. Like, this is stuff that I need to get through now. And I'm gonna be in here for a while, so I might as well start, roll up my sleeves, and I'm just gonna go on and get into it. Okay, so first thing that we're gonna talk about is the comparison between Salem and Rapunzel. As you guys know, anybody who knows any kind of fairy tales knows that Rapunzel was locked away in a tower, and obviously she may have long blonde hair, but she was still locked away in a tower. Hey, rewatch Volume 1, Episode 1, Salem narration. Makes sense. Okay, you must not be the Jeremiah that I know. There's a Jeremiah at work. I thought it was you, but you must not be him, because when I talked to you about Rwby, you had no idea what you were talking about. But yeah, we're gonna go on continue this. Salem was locked away in a tower by her father. It said she was locked away by her cruel father. Now the thing is, Rapunzel was locked away. It may not have been by her father, but she was still locked away. Their comparisons are there. Locked away in a tower, and then not only that, but Ozpin slash Ozma at the time, because this was Ozpin's first life, he was the knight that was there to rescue her after all other knights failed and perished attempting. So I see the resemblance there, and there's a huge resemblance there. And I am gonna rewatch Volume 1, Episode 1, because I need to see um, what you're talking about. But I think I do know what you're talking about. And not only that, I'm gonna cue this up. Oh snap! Finally, I was able to get a chat. This chat box right here. I was trying to figure out why the chat box never showed any chats last stream, but it's finally showing something. But right now, I'm going to show you this real quick. So when the episode first starts, it talks about how Salem, hold up, I'm gonna overlay this image. Yes, it talks about how Salem right here and other people were able to use magic freely. Like magic was just something that they're able to do. Now, if you're telling me that this is just something that people were able to do, that is insane to me. Oh, definitely. Salem is definitely a more likable character now. I feel like she has a lot more depth to her character now. Like at first, just like other people, I thought Salem was just some crazy evil person who we didn't know. We were never going to get a backstory. We were never going to know anything about her. But Salem is definitely somebody who has a lot more depth to her character now, and I love that because we get this backstory, and it also makes you kind of feel bad that she had to deal with some of the stuff that she had to deal with, being forced, being immortal, and originally before the thought came to the God of Light to reincarnate Ozpin or Ozma, um, being forced to live out your life, never being able to see the one you love and everything, that is tough. That is extremely hard to deal with. But yes, look at all these elements. Look like it has every element under the sun: dark, light, fire, nature. Looks like it has lightning. Freaking everything is there. But yes, this is something that I thought was really cool because they're saying that back then every everyone in humanity, like everybody in mankind, was able to use magic like this, and apparently fairly easily. And with that being said, that means that when Salem when Salem betrayed the gods, I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but when she betrayed the gods and they eradicated it, they did that for a specific purpose. Apparently, the god of darkness in the episode, he said that this was a gift that I gave to humanity, and it was used against him. Then he used that very same gift to eradicate everybody. I thought that was something that we really did need to see. Moving on past that, however, we do have um, Ozma dying of sickness. Now, I get that a lot of people who don't want to make this comparison won't make this comparison, or maybe people who haven't seen this specific episode of Dragon Ball Z won't make this comparison. But him dying of sickness, him being the knight, and I remember Jin, because you know Jin's narrating this episode. I remember Jin saying that Ozma was somebody who blades, magic, and even beasts couldn't slay. Then the fact that he got slayed by illness reminds me of the fact that Goku, being somebody who may have been beaten and everything, he's somebody who never gave up. He's somebody who's just so strong on Earth, and then he fell to a common sickness like a heart virus. And I thought that was a nice comparison there. I know that wasn't what the Rwby people with Rooster Teeth were trying to do, but I just saw that little comparison. Gods are definitely not all knowing. Very they're very childish and very much like Greek gods. You know, I do see that comparison because the fact that a mortal that the gods created, was able to sway how their opinion, how they acted so easily, I found that amusing. And that also brings me to another point, and I know I'm again skipping ahead a little bit, but when Salem put the gods at odds with each other, put the brothers at odds with each other, it reminded me of the fact. Hold up, let me get this out of here. It reminded me of the fact that she used the oldest trick in the book. You guys know when you're like little kids and everything, and you guys ask your parents, or you ask one of your parents for something, and that parent says no, but then you try to go ask the other parent for something, and then that parent says yes. That winds up putting the parents at odds with each other. Those gods fell for the oldest trick in the book, and I know for a fact, I know that we haven't seen it, but I know for a fact kids were using it in Remnant back then. Had to be. Had to be. And that also, backtracking a little bit, that also brings me to the fact when Salem sought out the gods for help. When she sought out the gods for help, I thought it showed how much that she loved um, Ozma. I'm gonna say Ozpin or Ozma. I keep correcting myself, but it's the same person. It shows how much that she loved him, and it also makes you feel bad for the fact that she has to go through this. She was locked up in a tower her whole life, and even Jin narrating said that Ozma found somebody worth protecting, somebody worth giving his life for, and everything. And she also said that Salem herself found freedom in Ozma. So the fact that Ozma had to die, and you know that he died soon after they escaped. Like it couldn't have been um more it couldn't have been no more than like a year, maybe two, that Ozma came down with that sickness. Just basing it off how soon it seemed and how young their love was for each other. So the fact that she went to the gods, and she went to the god of light and everything, and I love how they have these like kind of like ritual altars. They're not really ritual altars, but they're like, in my opinion, I would call them shrines. Exactly, like the you see how much grief that she had, and the fact that she has this much grief, and everybody is so used, especially everybody in Team Ruby, and everybody is so used to just seeing her just be all evil, and she has this plan. She don't care about people. She don't care about this, care about that. But the fact that she was human, and the fact that we have confirmation that she was human, she did have feelings. She wasn't always like this, is something that we needed to see. We didn't want I feel like we nobody in of the Ruby community wanted to see Salem be just this cold-hearted person her whole life, and somebody who was never human, or somebody who never had emotions and never felt remorse or anything like that. We wanted to see a villain like Salem who had a past where she was heartbroken, damaged, and she had to turn to the darkness, and that's what happened. And that's exactly what we got. And I feel like Rooster Teeth did an amazing job at portraying that. But back to the domain of life, this area, I love how they have the domain of life and the kind of like the layer of darkness, because the domain of life, you see a tree in the middle of this beautiful pond. The animation is so good. You see leaves falling everywhere. It just radiates life. And I love how it does that. And obviously, it's the home to the god of light. Now, I want to talk about their appearances real quick. I'm just gonna show you the God of Light and the God of Darkness real quick. Okay, here's the God of Darkness in his other form. I couldn't find, or I couldn't get the clip because it wouldn't download, of him in his regular like humanoid type form, but just bear with me on this. All right, and here's the God of Light right here. I'm gonna try to enlarge this image real quick. So yes, one thing um that I did want to show you guys is look at the differences in their appearance. You can clearly see not only the difference in color wise, but the god of light's horns are kind of like deer antlers in a sense. Deers are more lively and everything like that. And one thing I did want to say is the god of darkness in his kind of like dragon type form or whatever, or his attack form, if you will, he looks kind of like Jersey Devil. And if you guys ever played like Wolf Among Us or anything, Jersey Devil is kind of like this. Uh, it, it's kind of like this mythological creature with like kind of like a deer, or looks kind of like a deer's skull with devilish horns, and I feel like he kind of reminds me of that. And the comparison and their appearance and their mannerisms are also extremely different. And that's another thing that I'm glad that Rooster Teeth did, and they didn't make them do the same. I mean, when Salem went to the domain of life and she went and talked to the god of light, and she asked him, and when he appeared, you see the flowers make a ring around the middle of the fountain or the pond, You see him rise up, and you see what happens is he has this graceful, moving mannerisms. He's so graceful. He's walking straight back, very calm and everything. And I love how they did that. On the other hand, the God of Darkness, however, looked kind of like the exorcist popping out of the water. Like as soon as he rose up all slumped and everything. He's sitting there cracking his body, moving all over the place. His limbs are moving in ways that shouldn't be possible. And I like how they did that. And then not only that, the whole walking on your back thing was an excellent touch. I had no idea that they were going to do that. Scared the crap out of me. No idea they were going to do it. They look like Faunus, which is ironic. That is kind of ironic. They do kind of look like Faunus, and it's amazing how they look like Faunus, but Faunus were the ones who were treated terribly. Also, when they take their dragon forms, it's like two dragons on a map of world. You know what? I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. I wish, damn, like I need to make sure I load up more images and everything. These are all things that I didn't think about. And this is why I need more people tuning in and more people watching these live streams, more people in the Ruby community watching these live streams, because I want to talk to you guys on a level where I have like at least, at the very least, considering the amount of subscribers I have, I want to have at the very least 20 to 30 people on here talking to me right now about the amazing chapter that we just got and how amazing this volume is so far. Because this volume has been lit to all hell. But moving aside from this, we do have more things to cover, more topics to cover, and everything like that. This scene where Salem walks up and talks to the God of Light, talks to him right here. The scene where she does this, I feel like shows and says a lot. Because talking to him, she got down on her knees. She begged, she pleaded with him. You could tell that she loves him so much. You could tell that she loved how she just loved their relationship in general. And him being a god and everything, he can't just seek to appease one person. Because if she's sitting there talking about, oh, bring this person to life, then sooner or later everybody's going to be talking about bringing their loved ones to life. That's not something that a god should be doing. And unfortunately, to sticking to the balance and everything is something that has to be done. So when he denied her and she went to the God of Darkness, this is why this is where I feel like the betrayal started to begin. I feel like the betrayal began when he denied her. And I don't think it was a mistake denying her. I mean, at the same time, yeah, she may have wanted this to happen. She may have yearned and begged and pleaded and everything, but everybody has their time. And because of her begging and pleading, all this, and because of her, in a sense, selfishness, all of this had to occur. Yeah, a lot of things in this episode are foreshadowed throughout the story. I will not be able to explain. Hopefully, people tune in to your channel. Thank you. I really do appreciate. Now, I do want to ask you though, Jeremiah, are you the same, are you my coworker? I have a coworker named Jeremiah, and he did recently subscribe to me, and I have no idea if it's you, because if it is you, then you just played with me, um, and acted like you didn't know anything about Ruby. I just find it coincidental. I just find it coincidental that there's another dude named Jeremiah who just happened to tune in my stream today at 8 o'clock. He also got off at 8 o'clock, so it's just the fact that this all happens and everything. But you said you're not. That's cool. That's cool. I just found it ironic. But yeah, I hope that more people tune into my streams too, because I plan on doing this for every episode. And thankfully, my reaction to chapter one got unblocked. So that means chapter two and chapter three are coming out soon, very, very soon. I'm going to probably try to put those both up on Thursday, because I just really need to get those out there so I can be on time with all the other reactors when it comes to like chapter four and everything like that. Luckily, however, we all upload our reactions a week after the episode actually comes out, because Rooster Teeth's not able to upload it, as you guys all know. So it's a good thing to do that. But I keep getting sidetracked and everything. One thing I did want to say about the God of Darkness's lair, and I got so pissed off that I couldn't get this image downloaded because there are so many images that I wanted to put in here. I do have a good bit, but there's so many that I wanted to put in here that I just wasn't able to. And his lair is where Salem lives now. And I'm sure that we all kind of like anticipated that that's what it was going to be or where it was going to be, but it is where she lives now, where she's at currently. And the fact that she's in a sense so close to the God of Darkness yet so far, I kind of like it. Not only that, but it's not like he's helping her or she's helping him. He does not like her. Neither of the gods like Salem. They want her to be stopped, and they need her to be stopped. The question is, how is it going to happen? I'm not going to talk about the very ending yet, but I will say that there is like a lot of stuff. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to unpack. It's 22 minutes into the live stream, and I am not even halfway done with the notes that I have right now. But continuing on, I loved how when she talked to the God of Darkness at the lair, when she came to him after she came to the God of Light, and she said and talked to him about the fact that she said that only he could bring back Ozma and only he could do these things. And she made sure to be careful not to mention the older brother because of the fact that he definitely would not have granted her wish. So when he granted her wish and everything, and the older brother arrived there and was wondering what the heck was happening, the younger brother, obviously being evil, is saying, I'm doing what I want, not knowing that he had already not knowing that because he did that, he kind of overstepped the bounds of the terms that they set when it came to balance. But the younger brother only did that because Salem had manipulated him into doing that, which is what you were just talking about, Jeremiah. The fact that they're so easily manipulated is, in a sense, funny to me. I find it funny because of the fact that these are gods, right? Typically, gods, especially in animes and shows, are supposed to be all knowing, wise, and everything like that. Not supposed to be able to fall for easy tricks like this. Yet and still, they did, and I find that funny. I find that very, very amusing, if we're being honest. But yes, when she talks to him and when she states all of that, and when the God of Light arrives and they have that confrontation, they, in a sense, just take turns reviving and destroying Ozma. But I found what the God of Darkness said. When the God of Darkness said this, I I found this really interesting. He said that his exact words were that you may bask in the powers of creation, but you do not own them. Or he said that they're not exclusive to you, which means that either the gods can create or destroy. It's just that the God of darkness chooses to destroy and the God of light chooses to create. And I found that very interesting because I would have thought, or at least I feel like me and a couple others would have thought, that since he's the God of darkness, that he can only destroy, and since he's the God of light, he can only create. But they can do both. They just chose their path. And the fact that they chose their path, they chose to do this, they chose choice is a theme. Choice and sacrifice are hand in hand when it comes to this series. Ever since I'd say like volume 3 a little bit, choice and sacrifice have started to be hand in hand. And the fact that even the gods are showing those choices and sacrifices are kind of like a reflection of humanity, in my opinion. Just in my opinion. I don't know about everybody else, but just in my opinion. The gods' transformation. Now, this is the dragon forms that me and Jeremiah were talking about. To anybody new who's tuning in, 26 into the stream, I got it. There, I do think the gods are hypocrites about their life and death thing being balanced because God of darkness, eradicate humanity, and the God of light made Salem and Oswald. You know what? That is true. That is extremely true. They do act a little hypocritical. Now, I kind of figured that the God of darkness is going to eradicate humanity. That's something that he probably wanted to do anyway. But it is hypocritical nonetheless because they chose to talk about balance, yet they realized that they made a mistake in making Salem immortal. So when she came back, they figured that humanity was a lost cause, eradicated everybody. Then when humanity started reforming again without magic, obviously, Salem being there, being a witch and everything, causing problems and everything, probably manipulating people still. They chose to make Ozpin immortal. Very hypocritical, and I see where you're coming from. I guess that these gods they just make mistakes. I guess they just make mistakes because definitely making Salem immortal was the one of the biggest mistakes ever. I get that they're trying to give her a chance to learn and everything, but it was a very, very big mistake. When they reconcile their differences, when the gods reconcile their differences and to decide to make Salem immortal and have her deal with this is the main problem. Salem being immortal is the main problem because her immortality isn't like Ozpin's reincarnation or resurrection. Ozpin can die. The problem is Salem can't die. They're both immortals, but they're two different kinds of immortals. And Salem's type of immortality is way stronger than Ozpin's. Very much stronger than Ozpin's. It seems like, especially from the episode, it seemed like she just flat out can't die. And even though Ozpin can die, he'll just be reborn. It's kind of like a unstoppable force colliding with an immovable object. They also played, yeah, yeah. I did see that. I just got done thinking about that. Like they just took turns resurrecting and destroying him back to back to back. I would have got pissed. I would have just told him to let me stay dead. I would have been so upset. I feel like it hurt too. Like I can't even lie. I feel like it hurt too a little bit. The plot that Salem had against the gods. Ever since the gods chose not to resurrect Ozma and the gods chose not to do what Salem wanted them to do, which gods aren't supposed to do any damn way, she had from the jump, even past the eradication of humanity, she had a goal to betray the gods or, in a sense, to destroy the gods, her creators. And her plan involved swaying the minds of man. And her being immortal, her being older than anybody in mankind, especially currently, she's able to do that. She's wiser, stronger, and as far as everybody else is concerned, she stole immortality from the gods. As far as everybody else is concerned, sure, she didn't do it, but everybody else doesn't know that. Everybody else that's all under her just knows that she's immortal, which leads me to believe. Yes, it did. You are right about that. That did fuel them, fuel her anger to get vengeance upon them. Now, my thing is, with Salem being immortal, with Salem being able to sway the minds of man and humanity in general, it makes me wonder what exactly did she do to get Cinder, Mercury, Hazel, not Tyrion, because I think Tyrion is just in love with Salem. I think Tyrion just loves, like, actually loves Salem. But to get Watts and everybody else under her, what did she do? I know that she didn't. I don't think that she used brute strength or like brute power to influence them. I don't think that's her type of intimidation. I think that she found a way to get inside their heads, and I think that's how she did it. I just want to know how. My theory was that she used different tactics for each person. I feel like she kind of saved Cinder from whatever Cinder was doing and had Cinder and influenced Cinder, kind of like how Cinder saved Emerald from being just a common thief. I feel like Salem did the same thing in a sense to Cinder, and that's why Cinder's there. I feel like she might have used an intimidation tactic on not Hazel, on Dr. Watts, just because Dr. Watts is a priss. Yeah, and promising her power. But I feel like what it was is that she promised Cinder power. Um, I feel like she promised Cinder the power um, to, in a sense, protect herself, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like Cinder probably as a child or as a young adult was probably, um, in a sense, not necessarily picked on, but maybe beaten, maybe abused. And I feel like Salem promised, gave her the promise of having the strength to defend herself, protect herself, and everything like that. I feel like that's probably what she did for Cinder. Hazel obviously allied with Salem just because of the fact of what Ozpin did to, what Ozpin did to Hazel's sister, which also makes me to believe that Hazel is probably one of the newer members of the group because of the fact that it's Ozpin that Hazel is after. Not Ozma, not any of the other lives. It's Ozpin specifically. That's what I'm thinking. Now, going back to what was going on in the domain of light when all the people that Salem gathered were going to attack the gods. Did you guys see the different types of magic? I'm gonna pull up that image of Salem again, and I'm gonna kind of like block my face a little bit. All these different types of magic. I want them to go more in depth on like what each of these types of magic, these spells and everything can do because this stuff is crazy. I wanted to get more images of the people actually like in the act using the magic, but I saw people using some kind of weird, kind of like the Susanoo type magic where he had those little prongs throwing him at him. I saw all types of stuff, freaking lightning beams, fire, everything. These people were very skilled at using magic. Do you think Salem after the relics? Do you think Salem's after the relics because she wants to destroy the gods or making her immortal? Maybe at first. I'll say that maybe at first she was, but I feel like after she jumped into that pool of darkness, I feel like she just wants to destroy the gods and be the god. That's just my personal perspective. Maybe she still has a part of her that um that wants to just die and everything, but after her feeling like after Ozma for one taking the children away, which also angered Salem because I feel like even though Salem was like crazy, she was dark and everything like that. I feel like one thing that she did love was her children, and the saying is hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So I feel like what happened was she jumped into the pool of darkness. She became a immortal being of light that wanted to cause nothing but destruction. But in the episode you can clearly see the destruction and the want for destruction grows more and more. And anything bad that happens to her is just going to do anything but influence it. So I feel like not only when she saw Ozma taking the children away, it pissed her off, which influenced it more. but it also made her not want to be with Ozpin anymore or Ozma anymore. And if that's the case, then that means that she doesn't have a desire to die anymore because she only wanted to die to be with Ozma in the first place. So, with that being said, what really is she trying to get the relics for? Or is she just trying to get the relics to make sure Ozpin doesn't get them? Multiple theories, but I think it was what I just stated. Just me personally. And another thing is the animation after the eradication of humanity and the god's sheer power. When you think about the fact that this god, and that probably wasn't even the extent of his power, the god of darkness, when you think about the fact that he eradicated humanity like that, it shows you just how powerful these gods are, each of them. And the god of darkness, if you remember when Crow told the story, the god of darkness isn't even the strongest one. He's the younger brother, and the older brother decided to make the younger brother, in a sense, come to a consensus about the balance. And we finally got to see how the meteor was destroyed. It was the god of darkness. He destroyed the moon, and it caused a meteor shower, and in a sense, a just giant apocalyptic landscape. In from what I saw, we already talked about how Salem transformed, but just so you guys understand how much of a transformation it was, I'm going to show you. So here you can see Salem before, and give me one moment. Jesus, man. I don't know where this picture went. Picture must be gone. But yes, here's Salem before, and we all know what she looks like now. That change to like partly grim is extremely dramatic, but you can also see the resemblance. Where is this damn picture? I have no idea what this dang picture is. This picture has like eluded me or something. But the dramatic change from how Salem used to be and how she originally she didn't mean to transform. If you guys have not seen the episode, she didn't mean to transform. She jumped into that pool of darkness because she wanted to kill herself. It just happened to not work. Honestly, when Osmond said the gods cursed him, they really did, but he made the choice to go back to the world of the living and want to persuade him with Salem. Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I had watched the episode, because I had watched the episode for the third time just so I could get all my notes in order. He chose to do this. Now, whether he chose to do this because he wanted to be with Salem, or because he wanted to persuade her, or because of this or that, he chose to do this. So it may have been a curse, but it was a curse that he let happen. It seemed like the God of Light was going to give him a choice. And he chose yes. That's all I can say. He chose yes, and he can't do anything about it. Now, one thing I want to say is this reincarnation of Ozpin, or Ozma rather, we don't even know who his name is. We don't know who any of the other reincarnations' names are. We just have Ozma and Ozpin and Oscar. I don't know if his name is Oslo or freaking, I don't know. But I do know that this is the first reincarnation, apparently, of Ozma. And in this first reincarnation, you can see that there is a resemblance between every single reincarnated character. The only ones that I feel like don't have too much of a resemblance are the real preppy looking guy. He kind of looked a little French. I know you guys know who I'm talking about. I just don't have an image of him. But he is the only one that I don't see too much of a resemblance. But everybody else, however, I feel like has a resemblance and has the same kind of voice speech pattern. So that was something that I found very interesting. Oh, finally getting to the nitty gritty of all this. Okay, so I did want to talk about the fact that when Ozma got before Ozma got reincarnated, he was in limbo. If you guys don't know what limbo is, it's between living and dead. It's between the living and between the dead. Ozma being in limbo is basically when the God of Light was talking to Ozma in that completely white room. Ozma was between life and death. If Ozma chose not to do what the God wanted him to do, he would have just transitioned straight to death. But since he chose to do it, he went straight to life. But in that in between area, he was in limbo. Limbo is that space between realms and between worlds. So I think it was a good thing that they did it. They didn't state that it was limbo, but I know it was limbo. Now, one thing I did want to talk to you about, I did want to talk to you guys about. We got to see what the other relics look like. This is what the other relics look like confirmed. So, right here, we have the Staff of Creation. These are just my names for it. I don't know if they're actually going to call them the Staff of Creation, but this like staff or scepter or whatever you want to call it, this is creation. The sword is destruction. The crown is choice, and obviously the lantern is knowledge. These relics all look sick, and I can't wait to see the color scheme for the other three. The fact that we got to see what the other relics look like this early, though, I thought that we'd have to like wait, maybe other volumes or stuff like that, but we got to see what they look like this early, which is very, very, very awesome to me. I just want to see the color schemes. We already see the shape and everything. I just want to see the color schemes of these relics because I feel like the color scheme, if they're the same as the lantern, then fine. But if they're all different color schemes, I would like that too. In a sense, you could consider Osman was selfish because he did not want to come back to life to guide humanity. He came back. You know what? You're right. You're right about that. He did come back for Salem. That's the reason why he said yes so fast. And I feel like the God of Light should have caught on to that. But to each his own. Love is a powerful thing. Hold up. Jeremiah, you might be on to something there. Because I was tuning. Look, the only reason why I'm doing this live stream today instead of tomorrow, which I was going to do, because I'm off to not tomorrow, instead of Thursday, like I was going to do, because I'm off Thursday, is because if you guys don't know who a YouTuber named Murder of Birds is, you guys probably don't watch Rwby a lot. Murder is like the kingpin of Rwby reactions and Rwby theories. Like I've never seen somebody Murder and Eruption Fang, both of them, and he was talking about the fact that there's a possibility that Jean could be a descendant of Ozpin and Salem. Now, at first, Murder was saying that Salem was Ozpin's like child or something. But I feel like when he thought about Jean and put Jean into the picture, he quickly realized that odds are they had an actual relationship with each other. I can kind of see the resemblance of Jean's original sword um, in the Relic of Destruction. However, I'm almost 100% certain that that's not the Relic of Destruction. If that's what you're saying, or if you're just saying they're similar, then they're similar. But I do see the resemblance. But the fact that we got to see these relics so early, see their shape and everything like that in great detail also was just great to me because I was so glad because I didn't want to wait to see what all the other relics look like. And I like how since the lantern is knowledge, we all know that because it kind of looks like a genie's lamp in a sense. The staff is creation, and magic can create. The crown being choice, which means brain, you're able to choose and everything. The sword being destruction, because only thing that you're going to be able to do with a sword is destroy. And if you protect somebody with the sword, you're probably going to have to destroy something else. So I do like that they have that, and I like that they showed us those the relics. What the relics do when they're brought together. Now I found this extremely interesting. When the relics are brought together, the gods will be summoned. Now, I don't know if that means when the relic, as soon as they come into proximity to each other, they'll be summoned. I'm thinking that's what it means. And if that's the case, why would Salem want the relics in the first place? She's not going to be able to defeat the gods of light and destruction on her own or with her group or posse or whatever. She's not going to be able to do it. So why would she want those relics? Is my question. I have a couple theories on them, on why she wants it. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. But Jeremiah, you're on to something because I do want to know what each of their powers are. We already know what the lantern's power is. 3 wishes every 100 years. Could the sword just be like this massive, just brute strength or brute power or whatever? Could the crown give you the ability to choose like anything that you can do? Like it's hard for me to say, like the ability to choose your fate, maybe what do these things do? Can the scepter create just living things or create like kind of like a summon? Like what can the scepter do? And that's something that I want to know. That's something that I want to know as well. Another thing is I found some similarities to this episode and the Bible. I'm in the camp that believes in God's also. They could. They could very well be. This series could very well end with the relics being brought together and the gods deeming that humanity isn't um isn't fit to be like existing, so the gods choose to destroy it. However, if that's the case, how in the hell are we going to be able to defeat the gods of creation and darkness? I don't see us winning that battle. I don't know about you, but based on what I've seen, I don't see us winning that battle. Maybe we convince them. I don't know. But back to what I was saying, I found some similarities to the Bible in here. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain it. When the relics are brought together, the gods will appear and humanity will be judged. If you guys don't know what the rapture is, I'm going to kind of explain it. In the Bible, the rapture is basically Jesus Christ, and in a sense, God, will judge humanity, or they'll judge those in humanity. those who have accepted Christ, those who have lived their lives for God and everything, will go up to heaven. But those who have not will stay on earth while Jesus is, in a sense, fighting, um, in a sense, the Antichrist. Now, I found this I found this similarity, and I thought about this similarity because of the fact that the gods are coming when the relics are brought together and humanity will be judged. If humanity is deemed irredeemable, the gods will eradicate everybody. But if they are deemed, well, if they're deemed irredeemable, they'll eradicate everybody, hence, in a sense, everybody being damned to hell. If humanity has learned the error of their ways, however, humanity will go on and prosper and live with magic like they did before. Hence, in a sense, everybody being more powerful and, in a sense, not necessarily heaven, but in a good place. I do like how they call when for the relics together judgment day. Okay, I see what you're saying. I couldn't tell because it looks like the thing auto-corrected. I couldn't read that sentence right. But yeah, in a sense, that is Judgment Day. Very much so Judgment Day. I don't see how it could be any more of a Judgment Day. Everybody's lives hang in the balance of those relics being brought together. And whether or not Salem or Ozpin bring them together, I feel like it's going to be a tug of war thing. Me personally, I feel like Salem might get some of the relics. Ozpin might get some of the relics. And they're going to have to literally like go head to head to figure out, not to figure out, go head to head to see who winds up getting all four. That's just my theory about it. Humanity now with no magic. Because of the fact that humanity now has no magic and they rely on dust, it means all the more reason why Ozpin and Salem need a following. They can't defeat or appease the gods by themselves. And the fact that both of them do possess magic, and you know what? That's another thing. In season 4, not in volume 4, if I'm not mistaken, it was 4 or 5. It was 5. In volume 5, Ozpin, while he's talking to Yang and the rest of Team Rwby and even Juniper, he says that his powers are dwindling. And the power that he actually has now is finite. If that's the case, is it possible that Salem's power is finite as well, or is it just Ozpin in general? Because we saw that Ozpin lost to Salem when they battled each other. If Ozpin's powers are dwindling, how is he going to be able to fight Salem? He's probably the only one who's going to be able to fight Salem. Damn, Jeremiah, you were just coming up with a whole bunch of theories and like things today. I did not think about that. Sure, it's a little bit of a stretch, but it kind of does make sense. Humans back then were able to use magic. And because they were able to use magic, them being, in a sense, eradicated, could have, in a sense, produced dust. It's a stretch, but that could be how dust came to be. The dust could be remnants of the humans from before that were able to use magic. It is a little bit of a stretch, I'll give you that. But I could dive deeper into that theory and see for myself, like, what, if there's anything tied to that. Like if there's like anything to back that up. Now, the Faunus in the past. As soon as Ozma was reincarnated to the dude I had showed you earlier, we saw that the dust has now been created, and we also saw that Faunus were starting to be, in a sense, born and everything. Now, one thing I didn't think about was because back then it didn't look like Faunus were a thing. In Salem and Ozpin's time, it didn't look like Faunus were a thing. So were Faunus a result of humans being eradicated? Like, how can I say this? Because this is just a theory I thought about like on the fly. We didn't see any Faunus, or at least I didn't see any Faunus, when all the humans had gathered to fight the gods of light and darkness, right? And if that's the case, did humans being eradicated, like, did that have something to do with the Faunus being created? You're right, because I am part of the Rwby community and I do try to create this stuff with other people myself. But it was something when you did say that, it did kind of like throw me off a little bit. And another thing, with Faunus, or maybe what it was is the gods tried to experiment with different types of humans. Like the gods themselves are like, okay, maybe we'll grant humans animal-like traits or anything like that. Or maybe they just made humans but in a different image, but only a select few of humans. Like this is something that I'm just like thinking about on the fly. So I know it doesn't really sound too concrete, but it does kind of um kind of make sense because the gods themselves do kind of look like faunuses themselves. So it would be funny if the gods were just making the faunus in their own image and kind of like in a sense copy what they are. Salem witch trials. If you guys don't know what those are, back in the day, it was basically kind of like a purge of witches. It was people being accused of witches, people being burned at the stake, witchcraft was banned and everything. And as you can tell, Salem also being called the witch, living in the forest and everything, being among the grim is obviously a obvious tie to the Salem witch trials. Her being able to manipulate people, her being able to just have people in the palm of her hand and do it easily is what makes Salem so dangerous. And I feel like I don't see how we're going to be able to beat Salem, especially how we are now. Yes, he did say that it was a beautiful experiment. It was just an experiment that winded up going wrong because of Salem's selfishness. When you think about it, she's literally the arbiter of everything that's happened because of her being, in a sense, selfish and her wanting to destroy the gods. Every single thing that's happened after that occurred. Like Crow said in Volume 4, Salem wants to have mankind divided. And she's done an amazing job of that because she's manipulated mankind since the beginning. And when you think about it, this could all be a part of her plan. All of this could be a part of her plan. Her and Ozpin have plans set in motion. And I feel like almost everything leading to this point has been a part of both of their plans. When Ozma and Salem met each other, they wound up having secrets that they kept. Salem kept the nature of how she transformed and everything. Salem kept the nature from Ozma in fear that Ozma would wind up resenting her. Ozma kept his motive and the reason why he was resurrected away from her because he didn't know how she would react. I do think that what shortens Salem and Ozpin's power is having their children. That's something that I thought about too, because now even though we don't know for sure if Salem's power specifically has like diminished, we do know that Ozpin's have, and children can be a big part of it. Their lineage has been confirmed, which is one thing that I was going to talk about and kind of add on to Murder Bird's theory, is that Ozpin and Salem's lineage has been confirmed 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that Jean is a part of that lineage, but when you think about the fact that, like Murder said, Salem had blonde hair, blue eyes, Jean has blonde hair and bluer eyes, and you kind of when you kind of look at Jean's hair, it kind of resembles Ozpin's. It's just blonde. Then not only that, Jean talked about his ancestors being warriors and everything that, and not only that, Jean's seven sisters and the fact that Ozpin and Salem had four girls, all girls, mostly like girls. Even when Ozpin wanted to be in with that other woman, there were still, I think, majority girls. So I feel like there's a possibility that Jean could be um, a descendant of Salem and Ozpin. If that's the case, though, like Murder said, Jean never had a say in his life. Salem's gradual descent into darkness. This is something that I did touch on earlier. The darkness in Salem is growing. And you can see the change in the episode. When she first turned, sure, she was this, she was that, but she wasn't like going out killing people. She wasn't going out trying to recruit people or anything like that. It seemed like she was more to herself. But the more and more that darkness spread, she gradually, instead of seeing humans as humans, she kind of saw them as tools, toys, things that she can manipulate. Then she wanted to rule over them, and then she just wanted to replace them entirely. Her darkness is growing, and the fact that it's growing and growing, it's grown to this extent over these thousands of years, I don't see her coming back from that. It's possible, but I don't see it happening. Maybe if she sees Ozpin face to face, we'll see some kind of emotion about her, but I don't know. And one thing that I will say is the fight between Ozpin and Salem, I feel like it was a little uncalled for. Not uncalled for in the terms of like showing us the fight, uncalled for in a sense of parenting wise, your children are right there, and you guys decide to have literally a fight to the death. And we have no idea if any of those children even freaking survived. I'm sure they did, or at least some of them did, but we have no idea, like for certain, if any of them survived. And at the end of the fight, Salem, you see Salem kind of like turn into like a little, in a sense, beam of light, um, in a sense, resurrecting herself. Ozma is sitting there crawling away, bleeding and everything like that. And Salem, without any hesitation, didn't even give this dude a moment to speak. Just torched this dude alive. Obviously, he reincarnated, but that's what I was talking about when I said Salem's immortality is stronger than Ozpin's. She became immortal just like Ozpin because of the god of light, but hers is immortality. His is immortality through reincarnation. With that being said, Salem literally cannot die. So I don't see how we're going to be able to literally beat her in a sense of killing her. But one thing is certain, they're also very big similarities when it comes to losing the love. You're right when it comes to that. Jesus, man, I don't know what's going on with you, Jeremiah, but you need to pop by my streams more often. I'm gonna make sure to keep posting when my streams happen and everything, but you need to come by my streams more often because you and me, we could talk about this all freaking day. I'm almost done with my notes, by the way, though. So my thing is, one thing that became painfully clear to Ozpin, and this is why this is a tragic love story, but I love the demographic on this because it shows why Ozpin doesn't want everybody to know what's going on, especially since they're children and everything. Even though they're children who had to be forced to become adults and everything, or in a sense mentally, they're still children at heart, which means that they probably won't understand the fact, and they'll probably think that Ozpin is just against him. But I mean, it's not like he's really like gave them a lot to work with. But at the same time, they're all at this very moment of the story being told, they're all on the fence in general. Like they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do, to the point where when Crow walked up to him, Weiss had that rapier towards this man's throat. She was ready to impale Crow. And I'm sitting here like Rwby. Even Yang, I was even sitting there like Yang. What the heck is Yang doing attacking her own uncle? This goes way beyond the borderlines of family. Crow has never steered Yang wrong in the least. Yet she's so on edge about everything because of how close Crow is to Ozpin that she can't even trust her own uncle, who was kept in the loop about a lot of this. But continuing on, like I was saying, this comes to the point where we realize that Ozpin came to the conclusion that he had an impossible choice, which was no matter what, in order to save humanity, he had to kill or destroy Salem. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. I thought regular breakups were terrible and crazy breakups were terrible. This is intense, intense amount of emotion was in this episode. Great voice acting, a lot of great things happen in this episode. But the thing is that even though Ozpin has no choice but to destroy Salem, because that's apparent, according to one of the previous lives, asking Jin how to destroy Salem, she said you can't. And if you can't destroy Salem, how are we going to stop Salem? And that brings me to the final topic of this is how Team Rwby will react and how will the series end in my personal opinion. I feel like what's going to happen is, see, I feel like Oscar and Rwby are already kind of on the same page. Rwby is what's holding the team together in general now. Because without Rwby, Yang, Blake, and even Weiss probably would have been pounced on Oscar slash Ozpin. And I feel like you're right, Jeremiah. I feel like the only one who can destroy Salem is herself, but she doesn't know how. And if she does, she doesn't want to anymore. So one thing I'll say is I feel like Rwby will try to be the voice of peace. I feel like Oscar, being in the situation that he's in now, being a part of the reincarnation process, already has remorse and already has sympathy for Ozpin. Because even though he chose to do this, he didn't think it would be like this. Nobody could have expected this. But I feel like Yang will be jumping the gun at first, but I feel like she'll gradually realize, because of her being explained to this, why Ozpin had to keep this secret. At the same time, I don't know how Jean will react. This could be the very reason why Jean slammed Oscar slash Ozpin into the wall in the what am I trying to say? In the intro. That could be the very reason, because knowing John, especially how Jean's been in Volume 4 ever since Volume 4, Jean has basically blamed Ozpin and Crow for the death of Pyrrha and for the fall of Beacon, everything. That's basically what he's done. That could be the very reason why Jean slams Oscar into that wall. Because when Jean realizes this, maybe when Team Ruby and Team Juniper meet up again, when Jean realizes this, he'll just go out of control and he'll want to attack Oscar slash Ozpin because this is a secret that they kept, and this is something that he feels like could have been prevented if all this didn't happen. But knowing Jean, he won't know the full story, or he won't want to hear the full story, or he won't understand the full story, and that's what causes him to slam Oscar into the wall. I feel like personally, this is what will go down. I feel like it's a possibility that Crow will doubt Ozpin, but I don't feel like Crow will betray Ozpin. I know you didn't say that, but I'm just saying, speaking personally, I don't feel like Crow will betray him. One thing I will say, though, is that how I predict the series is going to end, and I know it's crazy me talking about how I predict it's going to end, but just based off this episode alone, knowing that according to Jin, you can't kill Salem. Salem's immortal. Her immortality is stronger than Ozpin's. The gods are going to be assembled, whether we like it or not. And it will happen as soon as the relics are brought together. Whether Salem brings them together or Ozpin brings them together, they're going to get brought together. And humanity will be judged. The fact that all this happens will lead me to believe two things. Salem will be the main antagonist, and what will happen is either they'll persuade her and she'll decide not to go along with her evil plans anymore, which is a little bit of a stretch. But who knows? Salem hasn't seen Ozpin herself in a long time. Maybe seeing him will help. Another one was that Salem will realize her wrongs and she'll find some way to kill herself. And that will happen, which might also leave Oscar slash Ozpin to do the same thing. Or at least sacrifice his soul and not kill Oscar in general. Those are just my personal opinions of what I think possibly could be the end of the series. I do have another video coming up where I'm going to be dissecting a little bit more about what I think about the gods of the god of light and the god of darkness. So make sure to look out for that. But in the meantime, that is the end for this live stream. Thank you, Jeremiah, for coming out and constantly letting me know and sharing your opinions and everything. I want more people like you to be in this live stream the next time I live stream. Right now, I'm going to go on and finish editing my reactions to episode 1 and not episode 1, episode 2 and 3, so I can hurry up and get those out to you guys. Jeremiah, I do recommend you check out my reaction to episode 1 because I feel like you'll like it. And definitely, everybody who's watching this now, share my channel with your friends. Share my reaction of chapter 1 with your friends, especially because I want more Rwby people in here next time I live stream. Jeremiah, you've been a big help today. You are a great part of this discussion. See, my thing is, you're the only person who said anything this whole time, right? And if I've had an hour of conversation with just you, imagine how long I'd have with 10 people, 20 people, 30 people in here. I need the Rwby community, and I need you guys to help me on this. Like, I'm talking about some real crap to help me get the rest of the Rwby community, or at least a good portion of the Rwby community, over here to these live streams. So everybody watching this right now, share this video with your friends. Definitely make sure to check out my other videos for Rwby. I'm going to have my other chapters up later on this week. I'm going to see you guys next time, and peace.